History bears testament to those who have led a nation. From the early kings that united warring tribes to create some semblance of a nation, to those that have caught the spirit and essence of their people and turned it into the ingredients to forge empires. We have seen those who have risen to lead. Kings, queens, emperors, revolutionaries, generals, presidents and prime ministers. Each has sought to harness the power of a nation and with it govern it. Some seek stability, others glory and conquest, and others wish to make the nation great again. From Julius Caesar to Margaret Thatcher, from Cleopatra to JFK, from Queen Elizabeth to Winston Churchill, and from Wu Zetian to Barack Obama, we have witnessed leaders rise and fall. The great and the greedy, the peaceful and the pugilists, the builders and the bringers of destruction. The world has witnessed many leaders. But what if your favorite YouTubers found themselves installed as a leader of a nation, be it an existing one or a virgin nation state? How would they lead? What would change? What would remain? What would their key policies be? What would be the national anthem? Who would form their cabinet? How would they rule? Well, you are about to find out in HG Tudor's exciting new series, If I Ruled My World, where YouTubers hold the reins of power and you decide if you want them as your leader. Hello, I'm HG Tudor, and welcome to If I Ruled My World, the series where we place the reins of power in the hands of a variety of people so you can learn more about them and their choices. And I'm joined today as the Prime Minister or President of a particular country by Sue Smith. Hello, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking. Now, you found yourself either by coup d'etat or democratic election in charge of a nation. What's the name of this nation?
Everworld.
Everworld.
Yes.
So is that EVER, world?
Yes, Everworld.
Everworld. Okay, and what's the thought process behind Everworld's naming?
Because Everworld is just ever there, ever constant, ever fair. It's just ever there. So it's Everworld.
Okay, so it's a consistent place then.
Yes.
So evidently consistency is important to you.
Yes, it is, actually.
Okay. And what's the capital of Everworld?
The capital's name is Enchanted.
Enchanted.
Yes.
Okay. So Christmas cards would go to President Smith, care of Enchanted at Everworld.
Correct.
Some might say it's a bit grandiose to call your country world, but then again, maybe you just that's entirely appropriate. You think so. And what would your seat of power be, Sue?
The seat of power is the Emerald City.
Ah, okay. The Emerald City. So
Yes.
a fan of Mr. Baum and his
Yes.
work then. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any significance in choosing the Emerald City? Does that mean anything in this world or?
Well, emeralds are beautiful stones. They happen to be my birthstone, and it's a jewel city. It's a crown jewel city.
Understood. Would you actually have a seat made out of emeralds? Physical seat?
No,
No,
I
you
would
wouldn't.
not.
I was thinking you might need a couple of cushions. It might not be the most comfortable thing to sit on.
No.
So we've established some geography. So the seat of power is Emerald City, that's in the capital, Enchanted,
Yes.
in this place called Everworld. But what's your national anthem?
Earth Song, Jackson.
Yes, I thought that was Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Why is that chosen as the national anthem?
Well, because it's all about the earth and animals, and you guys know I love rescue animals, and so it's all about saving the earth and saving the animals, and everybody coming together to do the right thing for the planet.
Okay. And what if someone were to say, well, fair enough with the song and its intentions, but why do we have to sing a song by a man who was accused of being a kiddie fiddler?
That's true, but accusations are not convictions, and I'm not saying he was or wasn't, but at this point, the man is deceased. He's been deceased quite some time, and so I choose to look at his music and the legacy his music left behind rather than something that he was accused of.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer. What about instead saying, well, could we really tolerate someone who would go, hee-ha, repeatedly?
There's no denying he was a fabulous entertainer with a fabulous voice. His music, I don't think any two songs of his sound alike. A lot of people nowadays, they put music out and the songs sound so close to each other, but I can't think of two Michael Jackson songs that sound alike. And he wrote most of his own work, so he was a very talented man. No doubt about that one.
So suffice to say, you're a Michael Jackson fan.
I do love Michael Jackson music. Yes.
I had a former girlfriend. She really liked Michael Jackson, and I'll be frank, I can't stand him. And I took great delight. I think it was 2009, wasn't it, when he died?
Yes, quite some time ago.
Yeah, it came up on my news, and I took great delight in immediately sending her a text message saying Michael Jackson's dead.
That's mean.
Well, that's me, isn't it? But there we are. So Michael Jackson provides us with Earth Song. And with regard to the singing of this national anthem, Sue, is it the case that the national anthem is just going to be played at special occasions, or are citizens expected to belt it out with gusto on a regular basis?
Just at special occasions. It's like an 8-minute long song, so I'm going to say just at special occasions.
Just special occasions, all
yes.
Right. Talking about special occasions, what's Everworld's national dish?
The cheese blintz.
The cheese what?
It's a dish. I think I think everybody knows I'm Jewish. Cheese blintzes.
Okay.
Fabulous dish and delicious, and one of my favorites. So I'm making my favorite dish, one of my favorite foods, the national dish. It's a cheese blintz.
Okay. Well, fill me in, educate me. How do you make it? What does it look like? And what does it taste like?
Very thin dough, and
Yeah.
you stuff it with things like it's got like cottage cheese and different stuff inside. You roll it up; they're about that long, and you fry them. And you eat them with either sour cream. You can't have them just plain, but I like mine with sour cream. Some people eat them with applesauce. There are some you can. There's a grocery store in our area called Publix. It's the only grocery store in our area that sells them. They also sell cheese blintzes filled with blueberries, apples, potato blintzes. You can make all different kinds of. If you've never had one, you should try one. They're addictive. You can't stop. You can't eat just one.
I see. Okay. So basically you could put whatever you want inside of them.
Yes.
Right, but you would choose ordinary cheese.
I like the cheese blintzes. Yes.
Okay. And with this national dish, again, is it a case that perhaps it would only be eaten? Well, it sounds like, because you can't just have one, it would be an occasion that the national dish would be eaten repeatedly.
Whenever you want one, feel free to have one.
Yeah. So there's no restrictions on when the cheese blintzes can be eaten. It's a absolute gastronomic free for all.
Correct.
Okay. And what about your national animal then, Sue?
Well, that should be a given. It's the dog.
And explain your thoughts behind that.
As we're speaking, my dog is nudging me, wanting to be petted. I love dogs. I think the world doesn't deserve dogs. They're fabulous animals. They may not be your whole world, but you are their whole world. They give so much love and companionship, and I just think they're fabulous animals.
Do you think they give you that love and companionship because you feed them?
No, well, my dog loves me. It has nothing to do with food. I would cut off my arm for my dog if I had to.
Yes.
People should treat dogs appropriately. And all I have to say about that is I see these posts of people who, adopt these dogs and then put them on chains in the backyard or throw them in the backyard and give them no attention. And if that's your idea of being a dog owner, that dog is not a pet and you are a jerk.
Okay. Now, the dog's the national animal, but of course, as we know, there are lots of different breeds. So what would there be a breed that would represent that? For instance, if it appeared on a flag, or it appeared on a coat of arms, or it appeared as some documentation in relation to the national animal?
I happen to like my dog. When we adopted Finn, I did a doggy DNA test and he came back as a Heinz 57. So a little bit of everything, just a mishmash of dogs.
So you'd have a mongrel dog as the as the national animal. I suppose it could be said then it represents all dogs because there's a mixture of many different breeds within. Okay.
Correct.
I've just touched on it in terms of asking whether it might appear on it, but what would your flag look like for Everworld?
It would just be, well, not to sound cliche, I would have red, white, and blue, one stripe of red, one stripe of white, one stripe of blue with Finn's face right in the middle.
Finn's face in the middle. And so the red, white, and blue, is that a tricolour? So like France, or bars across like the Dutch?
Like France.
Like France.
Like France. Okay.
And Finn's face slap bang in the middle.
Of course.
Staring out at the world. Okay.
Yes.
And has Finn given his approval to that?
Yes.
Yeah, he's nodding away. I'll take your word for it. Yeah. All right then. And what about Everworld's national motto, Sue? What's that?
I'm going to go, it's a Latin phrase, unus pro omnibus, omnes pro uno. And that essentially means one for all for one.
Ah, okay. One for all and all for one.
Mm-hmm.
So utilizing the Three Musketeers, in effect.
Three Musketeers, yes.
Three Musketeers, okay. I recall one time when I was at university and a lecturer called out a Latin phrase. And it was a Thursday afternoon, and he's one of those lecturers that had a very droning voice, not particularly interesting. Mm-hmm. And he comes out with this Latin phrase, and he says, "Does anybody know what that means?" And then this voice came from the back of the lecture theatre. "If it moves, fuck it." And he was not particularly impressed at all with that response. We all thought it was rather amusing. He didn't. He had a meltdown in his cargo pants, but there we are. But certainly yours doesn't mean that. So one for all and all for one.
Correct.
How would that be expected to apply to the citizens of Everworld?
Well, because everybody has stewardship in Everworld. And so, everybody has to look out for everybody else.
Okay. So it's encouraging people to have a care and a concern for other people.
Correct.
How would you bring that into being? Electric cattle prods? Monetary reward?
Well, if you want to move into Everworld, you have to sign an agreement that says, I will do this. And so you just, you know what the rules are when you move into Everworld, and you have to follow the rules of Everworld.
Okay, so how do you enforce people following those rules then?
Well, that comes under the stewardship. That comes under the 5 founding pillars later on.
Okay, well, the policies later on. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well, we will address that. I look forward to understanding how this stewardship is going to be enforced. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for electric cattle prods. Okay, what about your national day? What's it called, and when would it take place?
Okay. De Rossi Day. I was thinking about this. De Rossi
Rossi.
Day.
Okay.
And that was the pen name my father used when he did his artwork and he wrote his books and everything that he did. It was Dr. De Rossi. And it's every August 1st because August was his birthday.
Okay, so nothing to do with Portia de Rossi,
No,
nothing to do with Paolo de Rossi, who used to play
nope.
for Italy. Okay,
Nope.
so basically a nod to your father utilizing his pen name in August 1st on his birthday. So a personal connection there.
Correct.
Okay. I can see certainly as the president of this country, you're enjoying putting your own personal stamp on this with your dog's face on the flag and the dog being a national animal and your dad being basically the patron saint of your national day. But that's
Correct.
the perks of rulership, I guess, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, we're now going to turn to some multiple choice questions, Sue, where you have to pick, and you have to pick one which is closest to the relevant policy in relation to Everworld. So I will
Correct.
give you the options, and then you can explain to me which one you'll choose, and we'll explore why that is. So the first one we're going to look at is your foreign policy. So the options are defense only,
Mhm.
or aid allied nations and defend your own country,
Mhm.
or a world policing role, or expansionist regarding claiming historical territories. So we used to own this, we want it back.
Mhm.
Or expansionist regarding historical territories and resources. So we want that territory back, and we also like your oil, so we're going to take that. Or you looked at me funny, I'm invading you. Which of those options is the one you chose?
I chose aid allied nations and defend own country.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I feel like first of all, you should always defend your own land. You don't let
Yep.
people just overtake. But when you have friends out in the world, you should always come to the aid of your friends.
Okay.
Simple.
Yep. Straightforward.
I was old school raised, obviously, from a lot of my answers that, certain things are right, certain things are not right. But if you have friends that are having issues, you go to their defense.
What about if an allied nation needs your help, which would involve invading another country? Would that
No,
happen, or it's purely defensive?
purely
So if
defensive.
they're being attacked, you'd go and help them out.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Now let's turn to nuclear missiles. Would it be the case that you wouldn't have any at all? Would they be utilized for deterrent only? Namely, I'll never use them, but I won't let people know that. Or I'll only use them in retaliation if nuclear weapons are used against my country. Or hell yeah, let's nuke.
I would only use in retaliation. There's not much point if you don't have them in today's current climate. If you don't have them, somebody's going to do something. If you have them, it can be a deterrent. But if people know that you have them and you're willing to use them, then they usually just stop where they are. So I'm going to say I have them. And if you attack, I'm going to use them.
Okay. When you say attack, you mean if they attack with nuclear weapons?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What if in a conflict, your opponent uses a tactical battlefield nuclear weapon? Would that mean that you're going to unleash all of your nuclear weapons on them?
I think it would have to be on fair, even ground. So if somebody unleashed a tactical weapon on the battlefield, then that would give me leave to do the same thing.
So it would be an eye for an eye. So you'd then fire a tactical battlefield nuclear
Yes.
device at them instead. Okay.
Yep.
No, not tempted to fire two back just to
Nope.
get the advantage?
Nope.
No?
I wouldn't. Well, hopefully we wouldn't be in that situation anyway.
Okay.
But if it happened, I wouldn't want to overkill. I would just want to, make them understand that whatever they do, they're going to get back. The whole karma thing, what you put out is what you get back.
What if there was a launch of many
nuclear warheads towards Everworld.
Hmm.
Can't really count them. It just seems there's a lot coming your way. Is it just like fire everything we've got, or wait to see what they do and then respond?
Well, I would hope that Everworld would have an Iron Dome,
Okay.
and that hopefully none of those missiles would make it. But if the Iron Dome, because obviously you would have to hit them way before they get close, so there's no point in hitting them.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you would know how many are actually going to make it through. And then you would shoot back however many are going to hit.
So
But let's face
four
it,
got through,
just
you'd say
one
four.
would
Yeah.
kill everybody and everything.
So if four of their missiles got through, well, let's
Mhm.
assume Everworld is quite a large country.
Hmm.
So some areas are hit and some are unaffected.
Hmm.
Would you just go back with four, or would you say, well, no, that's a big no-no. You sent lots towards me. It was only by the good grace of my defense systems that only four got through. So I'm just going to unleash all of my nuclear weapons, or a lot of nuclear weapons, towards you.
Again, it would be four, because it would be whatever
Four.
you put out is what you get back.
Okay, all right. Let's turn to the question of press freedom.
Oh,
Would there be no state interference? Would you only interfere on the grounds of national security? Would there only be interference on whatever the government deems sensitive, which gives quite a wide remit in terms of whatever the government says is sensitive? Or is it the case that the media is state-owned?
for me, it would be no. Well, I added a caveat to one of your things. I said no state interference, but all information put out must be the truth.
Who determines what the truth is, though?
Well, in other words, if somebody takes, looking for an example, I steal a Mustang, I run down the road, I wreck the Mustang, I pull my gun, I shoot, but I don't kill somebody. The press can't come out and go, well, she borrowed the Mustang. There was an unfortunate incident. The Mustang was destroyed. And then she had a weapon that accidentally discharged. Whatever happens, the truth is what's reported.
Yeah, but again, let's say, for instance, tomato crops have failed. Okay, so one person reports tomato crops have failed in Everworld. Another person writes catastrophic tomato crop failure in Everworld.
Right.
Which is the truth?
That's the truth. They're different wording, but it's still the truth. I guess the point is you can't put out stories saying that the crops are fine if the crops have failed. You can't put out you know what I'm saying? Whatever you put out has to be the truth. Even if the wording is different, in the end, it's the same story.
What if an individual goes on the rampage in Everworld with a gun and unfortunately shoots lots of people, and the headline is man goes on rampage in shopping center, kills 25, and 25 people have been shot. And the next week there is a similar rampage, and so in the first instance it was a white man, and the headline is man kills 25. In the second one, black man kills 25.
Then in the second one, they would need to clarify that the first time around it was a white man.
Okay. But it's still the truth saying that a man killed them.
It is, but when you omit the color of the man in the first article, but make a point of putting the color of the man in the second article, that is, for me, that's a lie by omission.
Okay.
And you're trying to stir the pot, you're trying to cause issues. And so for me, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go out of your way in the second article to say black man, then you need to clarify that the first time around it was a white man.
Okay. The press says President Smith is a rubbish leader.
Maybe I am.
Well, there we are. Maybe. So
personal opinion is one thing. Everybody should be able to have their personal opinion. One person can say I'm a rubbish leader. Another person can say, he can say she's a rubbish leader because she has nukes and she's willing to use them. Somebody else can say she's a great leader because she has nukes and she's willing to use them. But the truth is, I have nukes and I'm willing to use them. Personal opinions aside, the basic of the story is the truth.
Okay. But if somebody expresses an opinion, so the person is allowed to express an opinion, even if it might be an untruthful one, because it's an opinion.
Well, but in their brain, they might think I'm a rubbish leader. And in somebody else's brain, they might think I'm a great leader. But, and if he says, listen, my opinion is she's a rubbish leader because she has nukes. Okay, well, his opinion is I'm a rubbish leader because I have nukes and I'm willing to use them. But the basic of the story is I have nukes and I'm willing to use them. That's his opinion of me. But I have nukes and I'm willing to use them.
But
so
is he allowed to report his opinion?
Absolutely. Freedom of, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Religious tolerance. Is it the case that there's complete freedom of worship and expression, or there's freedom of worship unless you're provocative to other religions or to people? Or is it the existing indigenous religion of Everworld, but you secretly tolerate others? Or is it existing indigenous only and there's non-tolerance and actual persecution of unapproved religions? Or is it a case of you worship me and only me, remember?
Okay, this was again, I put a caveat on it. Complete freedom of worship. You cannot interfere though with other people. So if I'm Jewish and you're Catholic, I support your right to be Catholic. You support my right to be Jewish. Well, everybody can practice whatever they want.
Okay, so that's essentially freedom of worship unless provocative to others then, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. Equality. Is it the case that minorities are actively supported, protected, and they get positive discrimination? Or are minorities protected by anti-discrimination legislation? Or we promote ability, we don't fill quotas? Minority issues are ignored? Or minorities are actively persecuted because, after all, they're a nuisance?
All right, again, I kind of mushed two answers together. Minorities are absolutely supported. They have come legally into Everland. However, if somebody doesn't have a skill set that somebody else has, you don't let the person who doesn't have the skill set have a job to fill a quota. The person that's correct for the job should get the job. So the minority person can go to training, learn how to do that job, and then apply for the job. You don't just throw people in for numbers' sakes.
Okay, so we promote ability, not fill quotas, in effect.
Correct.
All right.
But we support minorities. Absolutely.
Okay. So we've established some policies there, and we'll be coming on to your foundation policies presently. But in order to provide you with advice and possibly restrain you if required, you need a short form cabinet. And rather than go through all the potential positions, which would take far too long, I've selected 5 that you have to fill. So first of all, who's your defense chief?
Rambo.
Rambo. Okay. Don't push me. I'll blow you away. Okay, so Rambo's in place. Explain to me why Rambo is going to be the defense chief.
Well, from all of the movies, I think he's a good shot, and I think he would take care of business if need be.
Yeah.
He always wins in the movies.
Okay, so a man of action.
He's
not just sitting around and talking about it. He's going to get in there and
get it done.
Pull grenade pins out with his teeth, even though that would actually cause him to lose his teeth. But hey, that doesn't matter. It's still great to watch. Okay, interesting choice, but an effective one, I should imagine.
Yes.
Who is going to be your foreign secretary?
Meryl Streep.
Now that's interesting. Why Meryl?
I think when she's not acting and she just talks, she's very calm. She's very level-headed. I think people would want to negotiate with her. I think that I just think she would do a great job, and a woman should be in that job.
Why a woman?
Because I think women, when it comes to negotiations and stuff like that, can tend to be just a little bit more level-headed than men. Men tend to have an ego thing in the way that most women just don't have.
Okay, I've heard half the audience drop their pints of beer at that, but never mind. But Well, I can understand the place that you're coming from there.
Right.
Okay. Who's chief scientific officer?
Mr. Spock.
Ah, yeah. Expand on that for me.
Mr. Spock is very scientific, seems to know everything, and can run every piece of equipment that's thrown down in front of him. And I think he would just do a good job.
Yeah. I think there's many that would endorse that choice.
Mhm.
Who's holding the purse strings? Who's in
You'll love
Britain,
this.
Chancellor of the Exchequer or the Treasury Secretary? So who's the person with the money?
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. Okay, justify that to me.
Well, I mean, he seems to be very straight down the line kind of guy who says, you know, what he feels to be not her truth or his truth, but the truth. And I just feel like if there was money put in front of him, he would count it, he would take care of things, and he would make sure that nothing disappears.
So you trust him, would you?
I would trust him with money, yes.
Right, okay. So Piers gets put in as the Treasury Secretary. He's the one with the purse strings.
Purse strings, yeah.
Okay. Is the fact that he is a repeated critic of this one's wife, did that influence the decision in any way?
Actually, no. It's not whether he critiques her or not, but I was very impressed when he lost his job with the news, I think it was, the GB Morning News or something. And he said, he came out and he interviewed, and he said, this is what I believe. And if I have to die on that sword, I will. And he did. And I thought, wow, that's impressive. I thought that was.
Do you think it's relatively easy for a multimillionaire to say, well, I don't need that?
Yes, I do think it was easy for him to say that because it wasn't a monetary issue for him. But people did attack his credibility, and he stuck with his, he has integrity, and he stuck with his thought processes, and look where he is now. He's got his own show. So.
Okay. Who's Minister for Fun?
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Yes.
Okay, why is that?
He's hilarious. You see him on the evening shows. You see, he's one of the funniest men. He's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he'd be tasked with getting everybody chuckling before they bite down on their cheese blinzy.
On the cheese blin.
Yeah. So he getting everybody laughing. Presumably, hopefully they won't choke on them whilst they're having a good laugh at Mr. Hart. Okay, correct. So that's the short form cabinet. Some certainly interesting choices there. And we shall see how effective they are in due course.
Ooh, yes.
Now we turn to the question of which country is going to be Everworld's major ally?
Oh, that's easy. You see my shirt?
All right. Okay. So it's going to be the United Kingdom.
Of course. Of course.
Okay. Why the UK?
Oh God, I think that everybody knows I love the UK. And I just feel like, and since America came from the UK, you know what I mean there. I just feel like they would be a natural ally.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
And which country is going to be your main enemy?
Everland doesn't have any enemies. Everland loves everybody.
Okay. Oh, it's become Everland now, not Everworld.
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 We love everybody. We don't.
Love everybody.
We don't have any enemies.
Okay. But it might be that not everybody loves you, but you're still going to look out with rose-tinted spectacles and love in your heart for everybody else.
Well, I hate to say it, but that's pretty much how it should be anyway. Not everybody has your best interest at heart, but until they prove themselves otherwise, you should always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Okay.
Right. Well, it might be that Rambo and Meryl Streep have their work cut out in having that worldview, but hey, that's what they're hired for. So that's going to be the case. Now we turn to the question of, would there be any particular group that wouldn't be welcome in Everworld?
No, every group is welcome. Nope, every group is welcome. You just have to live by Everworld's rules.
Okay. What about people who have an intrinsic hygiene problem? Do you want the stinky people coming?
Well, I'm sure that if the stinky people show up in Everworld, they'll meld in some fashion. They'll probably increase their hygiene. Again, looking on the bright side, I'm sure that since everybody in Everworld would be clothed and housed and have, plenty of food because everybody's equal in Everworld, I'm sure that their hygiene would improve.
Okay, you wouldn't install automatic disinfectant at the border to hose
No.
these people down? No?
No, I wouldn't do that.
They'd be welcome to come through.
That would
Okay.
be demeaning. I would never do something like that. That would be absolutely demeaning.
Okay. What about if there were some horrendously ugly people, so horrifying that you look upon them that it makes you want to vomit? That they could cause fear and alarm amongst the existing populace. Would these horrors be allowed in?
Of course. You
You
don't judge somebody by the outer wrapping.
Okay, right. Yes, everybody is welcome. Right then. Now we turn to where you really get to flex your powers as we talk about your 5 foundation policies of your government. So, Sue, feed me with policy number 1, please.
Oh my God. Well, policy number 1 is that everybody gets treated equally. Everybody gets a fair shot. So you don't have to worry when you come to Everland if you're stinky or you're ugly or whatever, that you will be treated differently than anybody else.
What if somebody bowls up and they're lazy and they're not going to work?
Well, that's one of the rules of that. That's one of the other rules of.
Okay, right. Well, we'll address that then. So it's a straightforward concept. Might be a little difficult to implement given the nature of human beings, but everybody's treated equally. So that's the ideal. Okay. Policy number 2, please.
There is no crime allowed of any kind in Everworld.
No crime of any kind. Okay. Who decides what a crime is?
Well, there's a list made up by the cabinet, the expanded cabinet. There's no burglaries or robberies. There's no carjackings.
Yep.
There's no, assaults. There's no beating people up. There's none. I'm not talking about a 5-year-old that, steals a piece of gum from the candy store. I'm talking about, murders and burglaries. And there's none of that allowed in Everworld.
So theft's allowed then?
Say again?
Theft is allowed.
No, burglary is theft. No.
Yeah, but what about the 5-year-old stolen some candy?
You have a pass up till a certain age, because at that age is an age of consent. And before people say, the children's brains, because I thought about that, children's brains aren't fully developed until da-da-da-da-da. They don't know right from wrong. I believe a 16-year-old knows murder is wrong.
Yeah.
But do I think a 5-year-old, am I going to, punish a 5-year-old for stealing a piece of gum? No.
Okay. So there'd be an age of criminal responsibility.
Correct. Depending on the crime, yes.
Oh, right. So it would shift dependent on the crime.
Correct.
Okay. So what's the age of criminal responsibility for stealing?
Well, if you're talking about stealing by breaking into somebody's house and robbing them, that is 15.
15. So a 14-year-old, he does it, he's not going to be prosecuted.
It's not that he won't be prosecuted, but he won't be held to the same account as when you're 15 and up. A 14-year-old.
So it's actually still a crime. It's what you're saying is it's the punishment that'll be different.
It's the punishment that changes, yeah.
Okay, so on that basis then, would the 5-year-old be prosecuted for stealing candy?
The 5-year-old, at 5, you're given a warning, don't do that again. By the time you're 10 and you're stealing something, you may have to do community service. By the time you're 14 and you're stealing something, you might have to go to juvie.
Okay.
So by the time you're 15, you're in deep trouble.
So basically the message is crime will not be tolerated.
Correct.
Depending on what age you are.
Correct.
Okay. And your cabinet decides what the crimes of the land are.
Correct.
So there's the usual biggies like murder and rape and assault and
correct
and such like, and then burglaries and stealing cars and arson and things like that. Okay.
Correct.
What about writing on X? I don't like the stinky people that have been let into the country. Let's round them up and soap them until they cry. Are you allowed to say that?
You can say that because that's your opinion. That makes me think about what you just said, makes me think about what I read happened in the UK. Some woman posted something, removed it 2 minutes later, but somebody screenshot it and now she's in jail. I don't agree with that, especially since right after that, some guy who had porn on his phone got bail and walked, or probation or whatever, and walked right out of jail. So no, you can have freedom of speech. You can give your opinion. Did they name the stinky people? No. Did they shame, did they specifically name the person who's ugly or that they don't? No.
Okay.
They gave their opinion.
What about, I don't like stinky people. I think they should all be shot.
Threats like that, I would think the person would be told to take their post down.
Yeah.
Because that's advocating for violence.
Okay, so take the post down, but no more than that.
I wouldn't put somebody in jail for that, no.
Okay, fair enough. Policy number 3, please.
Policy number 3 is that, again, if you don't follow the rules, everybody has stewardship of the rules. If you don't follow the rules, you can be removed from Everworld. You can be expelled from Everworld. It is a privilege to live in Everworld.
So if you don't follow the rules, you're deported.
You're out of Everworld.
Okay. I walked down the street and I was chewing some gum and I just threw it on the floor without due regard for anybody else. And my elderly neighbour stepped in it, and it meant that his new sneakers that he got from Nike have got all gummed up. Am I now being deported because I didn't follow the rules in littering?
No, but you are going to buy your neighbor a new pair of sneakers and you're going to get a warning not to litter.
Okay.
I'm talking about people that, like you were saying, that, rape, burglary, arson. I'm talking about big crimes.
Okay.
Everybody
so there'd be a prescribed list of those crimes that if they are committed, it's one strike and you're out.
Correct. I mean, when you come to Everworld, these are your rules. Follow the rules and you can stay in Everworld where everybody is happy, everybody is equal, everybody gets justice, everybody has a home, food, a job, everybody has everything, free medical, everybody has everything. But if you can't control yourself and you assault, you beat the crap out of somebody, you rob somebody, you blow somebody's building up, you burn it to the ground, then you can't be in Everworld because obviously you can't control yourself. So you're out of Everworld.
Okay, so Arthur Awkward, who has come from the Netherlands, he has burnt down an apartment block. So major crime there. He gets deported back to the Netherlands. He goes. What about Ian Indigenous? He was born in Everworld, has lived in Everworld, and he just killed 2 people with an axe after they laughed at his shorts that he was wearing. What happens to him? Because he's a citizen of Everworld and always has been.
To me, that's even worse, because if he was raised in Everworld, then he was raised from the beginning knowing the rules, and he's always had fair everything his whole life.
Yeah, but where does he go?
That's like that Shamima girl. The UK removed her citizenship. She's stateless in a refugee camp.
But she went somewhere else. Ian Indigenous is in the country. So where do you put him? Do you just fly him out in a helicopter and drop him in the sea?
No, we wouldn't do that. But we would, I guess, talk to another country and see if somebody else would be willing to accept him.
Okay, so basically you try and find a country that is perhaps a bit short on money and say to them, will you take our reprobates and our rubbish and we'll pay you?
Well, I mean, it's not like the United States hasn't taken prisoners from other countries that are, it's not like we haven't done it. They didn't want them. They threw them out of the country. These people showed up as refugees and they had long criminal histories, and the United States let them in.
I often think it would be a useful idea where you might do something similar to what is envisaged in Children of Men, where the Isle of Man, the people that lived on the Isle of Man were resettled on the mainland comfortably and given compensation for losing their homes. And the Warden of England created a penal colony. And so all the criminals were sent to the Isle of Man, and they were given seeds to grow food and to be able to rule themselves. Of course, it descended into anarchy with all of the criminals, but they were all placed in one place. So you got them away from the main populace. Would there be any appeal in that, creating an island and shunting the undesirables onto there?
I mean, I guess you could, but even then you would need some sort of, you would need something so they wouldn't kill each other on the island. You
Oh,
don't want
they're criminals. Leave them to it. They
can't
didn't
do
follow the
that.
rules.
You can't do that. You
Oh,
can't do
okay.
that.
Okay. So would you have to? So if you did that, you'd have to police it, and that would cost.
You would have to police it, but then
Okay.
Piers Morgan would take care of the money.
Okay. He'd find it somewhere, would he?
He would find it somewhere, I'm sure.
Right. Policy number 4, please, Sue.
Policy would be about the health care,
Yep.
that everybody has access to health care. Again, I'm not talking about like I know there's a big difference in countries and the universal health care system in other countries where if you need something, you go on a wait list.
Yep.
And then like in the United States, we pay out of pocket for our insurance, then we have deductibles, then but you don't go on a wait list. If you need something, you just go get it taken care of. So
Yep.
there's pros and cons to both. My thought process, somehow we would find the money so that it would be like the United States system where you get it immediately, you get everything you need, you can go to any doctor anywhere, but everything is covered. Like one of the good things to get physicians to want to come live in Everworld is because everybody has free, a house and a car and free food and stuff. So they wouldn't have to charge the exorbitant amounts that they charge for healthcare.
So who's providing all these free houses and free food and free healthcare? The government.
The government provides everything.
And how are you going to pay for all of this?
Everworld just happens to be very wealthy.
Just happens to be very wealthy. That was convenient. Okay, so basically you've been selling the emeralds from the Emerald City.
Correct. That's it.
That's what it is. Okay. Policy number 5.
Oh my God. We have a defined territory. Don't cross it.
Defined territory, don't cross it. So presumably that's telling other people.
Well, what you're saying to the people of Everworld is you can come and go to other countries, but you must, I don't want to say you must get permission. It's kind of like, I guess, having a passport system.
Yeah.
You can, but there is a defined line, and if you're not planning a trip, don't cross it, because once you leave without going through the proper channels, you may not be able to get back.
Okay.
I know it sounds crazy, but I really thought a lot about that one. There are people that live in the United States who leave the United States with, illegally. They don't have a passport, they don't have what they need, and then they have trouble getting back in. You can't get back in because if you don't leave legally and there's no record of you leaving, you have trouble getting back into the country. So for me,
well, presumably you deserve that because you're an idiot.
Correct. Well, that same thing applies. Don't leave if you're not supposed to, or if you're not doing it the legal way, don't go, because if you go, you're not getting back in. Because
in short, have a passport.
Right. Everybody wants to live in Everworld because it's so fabulous.
Okay. So nobody would ever leave it then.
Well, you would hope, but
Okay.
You never know.
Well, Sue, thank you very much for sharing your vision of Everworld.
Thank you.
A country in which the populace have to sing a national anthem in relation to Michael Jackson, which some might view as a good thing, others might regard as a bad thing. The dog rules supreme, with Finn appearing on the national flag, and it's where one for all and all for one, with a national day on August the 1st, with De Rossi Day, a personal choice as a consequence of Sue's father's pen name. There's freedom of worship, and ability is promoted, quotas aren't filled. Nuclear weapons could be used if you use them against Everworld, so watch out. Rambo will be flexing his muscles as Defense Secretary. Spock will be dispensing logical advice, and Piers Morgan isn't going to embezzle any money because he's completely straight down the line, according to Sue, and is entirely to be trusted. Everybody has a good giggle as a consequence of Kevin Hart's contribution, and it seems to be that there's the attempt to create a utopia where everybody has a house, everybody has food, everybody has healthcare, everybody's treated equally, and you won't ever want to leave Everworld because it's so wonderful. Stinky people are welcome, and the emeralds will keep on paying for it all. Sue Smith, that is the vision, and thank you for sharing If I Ruled My World.
Thank you.